Rain hammered the Seoul streets like bullets against concrete. Kang Doyun pulled his black coat tighter, eyes scanning the Gangnam alley where his informant had promised information about the Choi family's weapons shipment. At 34, Doyun had seen every kind of betrayal this city offered. He'd survived them all. The alley was empty. Wrong. A soft whimper cut through the rain's roar. Doyun's hand moved to the gun beneath his coat. He'd learned long ago that sounds in empty alleys meant ambush or corpses. Neither surprised him anymore. But when he turned the corner, he found neither. A child sat huddled against a dumpster, maybe 6 years old. Her pink jacket was torn, one shoe missing. Blood trickled from a cut above her eye. She looked up at him with eyes that seemed too old for her small face. "Please," she whispered in perfect English, then switched to Korean. "They're coming back." Doyun should have walked away. Children meant complications. Complications meant weakness. Weakness meant death in his world. But something in those eyes stopped him. They reminded him of someone he'd buried years ago. Who's coming back? Doyun crouched down, keeping his body between the girl and the alley entrance. His eyes never stopped scanning for threats. The men in the black van. Her voice trembled. "They took my aunt. She told me to run, so I ran. But they saw me. They said they'd come back for me too." Doyun's jaw tightened. Child trafficking. The Choi family's newest venture, according to his sources. He'd planned to destroy their operation, but seeing it face to face made his blood turn cold. "What's your name?" "Mirae." She hugged her knees closer. "Kim Mirae." Kim. The name struck him like lightning. There were 1,000 Kims in Seoul, but something about the way she said it, the slight American accent underneath the Korean, triggered a memory he'd locked away. Headlights swept across the alley entrance. Doyun didn't hesitate. He scooped Mirae into his arms and moved deeper into the shadows. She was lighter than she should be, all bones and fear. The black van stopped at the alley entrance. 3 men stepped out, guns visible beneath their jackets. Doyun recognized the tallest one, Park Juno, one of Choi's enforcers. A man who enjoyed hurting people. "She ran this way," Juno called out. "Find her. Boss wants the American brat alive." American. The word confirmed Doyun's suspicion. Mirae buried her face in his coat, trembling. Doyun pressed against the wall, gun drawn, calculating odds. 3 armed men. 1 child to protect. The math wasn't good. But Kang Doyun hadn't built his empire by avoiding bad odds. He waited until they were 15 feet away, then stepped out. His first shot took Juno in the shoulder before they could react. The second man went down clutching his leg. The third dove behind the van. "Go home," Doyun called out in Korean. "Tell Choi that Kang Doyun has the girl. If he wants her, he knows where to find me." The uninjured man grabbed his wounded companions and scrambled into the van. They peeled away, leaving tire marks and blood. Doyun's penthouse overlooked the Han River, a fortress of glass and steel 30 floors above the city's chaos. His security system could detect a mosquito. His guards were former military. No one entered without his permission. He carried Mirae through the door, setting her gently on the leather sofa. She hadn't spoken during the car ride, just stared out the window with those 2 old eyes. "Are you hungry?" Doyun asked, suddenly uncertain. He knew how to interrogate informants and negotiate deals. Children were foreign territory. Mirae nodded slowly. Doyun called his housekeeper, Mrs. Han, a grandmother type who asked no questions. Within 20 minutes, food arrived, rice, soup, grilled meat. Mirae ate like she hadn't seen food in days, which she probably hadn't. While she ate, Doyun studied her. Dark hair, Korean features, but something distinctly American in her mannerisms. The way she held her chopsticks. The slight tilt of her head when listening. "Where's your mother?" he asked softly. Mirae's chopstick stopped midair. Tears filled her eyes. "Mama died 6 months ago." Mirae's voice was barely a whisper. "Cancer. That's why Aunt Ji-young brought me to Korea. She said we'd be safe here, that we'd start over." Doyun felt something crack in his chest. "What happened to your aunt?" "We were shopping in Myeongdong. These men started following us. Aunt Ji-young noticed. She told me to run into the crowd, said she'd find me later." Mirae wiped her eyes with her sleeve. "But they caught her. Put her in the van. One man grabbed me too, but I bit him and ran. Smart girl. Survival instinct." "Your mother," Doyun said carefully. "What was her name?" "Saran. Kim Saran." Mirae pulled out a small photo from her jacket pocket, crumpled and water-stained. "This is us. Last Christmas." Doyun took the photo with shaking hands. The woman in the picture was older, thinner, but unmistakable. The world tilted sideways. Kim Saran. His first love. The girl who'd left Korea 12 years ago without explanation. 12 years ago, Doyun had been nobody, a low-level enforcer working for the previous Kim family boss. Saran had been the boss's niece, visiting from America for the summer. She'd been light where he was darkness, laughter where he was silence. They'd fallen in love in secret. Her family would never approve of a common gangster. Then she disappeared. One day she was there, the next gone. Her family refused to speak of her. Doyun had searched for months before accepting she'd left by choice. He'd buried his heart after that. Built his empire on the grave of who he used to be. Now her daughter sat on his couch, eating soup. "Did your mother ever talk about Korea?" Doyun asked, his voice rough. Mirae nodded. "Sometimes. When she was sad. She'd look at old photos and cry. There was one picture she kept in her nightstand, a boy by the river. She never told me who he was." Doyun remembered that day. They'd been 18, dreaming of impossible futures. "You'll stay here," Doyun said, standing abruptly. "You're safe. No one can touch you. Why are you helping me?" Mirae's eyes were too knowing. Aunt Ji-young said Korean gangsters only care about money and power. Doyun almost smiled. "Your aunt was right about most of us." He crouched to her level. "But I knew your mother. A long time ago. She was important to me." Mirae studied his face like she was memorizing it. "You're the boy in the picture." It wasn't a question. Doyun nodded once. "Mama said you were the only good man she ever knew." Mirae's voice broke. "She said leaving you was her biggest mistake, but she had to. Her family made her." The words hit Doyun like bullets. All these years, he'd thought she'd chosen to leave. That he hadn't been enough. "Get some rest," he said gruffly. "Mrs. Han will show you to a room. Tomorrow, we'll figure this out." But as Mirae followed the housekeeper down the hall, Doyun knew nothing would be figured out. Everything had just become impossibly complicated. Doyun stood at his floor-to-ceiling windows, watching the city lights blur through rain. His phone buzzed. Sung Miho, his second-in-command. "Boss, the Choi family knows you have the girl. They're demanding a meeting." "Let them demand." Doyun's voice was ice. "I want everything on their trafficking operation. Names, locations, buyers. Everything. Already working on it." "But boss," Miho hesitated. "Why are we protecting one random kid? This could start a war." Doyun watched his reflection in the glass. "Because she's not random. And if Choi wants war, I'll give him one he won't survive." He hung up and called another number. His private investigator, A ghost who could find information the dead had forgotten. I need everything on Kim Saran. American resident, died 6 months ago. Cancer. I want medical records, death certificate, last known associates. He paused. And find out what happened to her sister, Ji-young. Kidnapped today in Myeongdong. By morning, he'd have answers. By noon, he'd have a plan. Doyun couldn't sleep. At 3 a.m., he found himself standing outside Mirae's door. He pushed it open quietly. She was having a nightmare, whimpering in her sleep. Without thinking, Doyun sat on the edge of the bed. Mirae's hand shot out, grabbing his sleeve. Don't leave, she mumbled, still asleep. Please don't leave like Mama. Something in Doyun's frozen heart cracked wider. He stayed, sitting in the darkness, until her breathing evened out and her grip relaxed. Looking at her small face, he saw Saran in every feature. The slight upturn of her nose. The stubborn set of her jaw. She was a ghost made flesh. His phone vibrated silently. A message from his investigator, urgent. Call immediately. Doyun stepped into the hallway and dialed. You're not going to believe this, the investigator said. Kim Saran's medical records. The cancer diagnosis was real, but there's something else. 6 weeks before she died, she sent a letter to someone in Seoul. Registered mail, signature required. Who? You. The letter arrived by courier at dawn, still sealed. Doyun's name in Saran's handwriting made his hands shake. He opened it alone in his study, 12 years of questions about to be answered. Doyun. If you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm sorry for that. Sorry for many things. I left Korea because my family gave me no choice. They found out about us. My uncle said if I didn't leave immediately, you'd disappear. Not metaphorically. Actually disappear. I believed him. I've seen what our world does to people who disobey. I found out I was pregnant 3 weeks after arriving in America. Your daughter. I named her Mirae, future, because you always talked about building a better future. I never told you because I thought distance would keep you both safe. I was wrong about many things. Doyun stopped reading. The room spun. Daughter. His daughter. He looked at the photo of Mirae on his desk. Not just Saran's child. His child. The letter continued. By the time you read this, Mirae will be alone. My sister Ji-young promised to take her to Korea, to you. I'm trusting her to keep that promise. Doyun, our daughter is special. Smart, brave, kind in a world that punishes kindness. She deserves better than the life I gave her, always running, always hiding from my family's enemies. I know you're powerful now. Miho sends me updates, though he doesn't know why I ask. Protect her. Love her. Give her the future we couldn't have. I'm sorry I wasn't brave enough to tell you the truth. I'm sorry I wasted 12 years. But I'm not sorry for Mirae. She's the best thing I ever did. Always yours, Saran. Doyun read the letter 3 times before the words fully penetrated. Miho had been in contact with Saran all these years, feeding her information about Doyun's rise to power. Ji-young had been bringing Mirae to him deliberately. Which meant the kidnapping wasn't random. The Choi family had known exactly who they were taking. Doyun stormed into his office where Miho waited. His second-in-command looked up, saw his face, and went pale. How long? Doyun's voice was deadly quiet. Boss, I. How long have you been in contact with Kim Saran? Miho stood slowly, hands visible. 11 years. She reached out after you took over the organization. Asked me to keep her updated on your safety. Made me promise never to tell you. Did you know about Mirae? Not until 3 months ago, when Saran got sick. She told me everything. Asked me to help Ji-young bring the girl to you when the time came. Miho's voice was steady. I was trying to protect you, boss. You'd finally stopped looking back. I thought. You thought wrong. Doyun cut him off. Ji-young's kidnapping. The Choi family. Connect the dots. Miho pulled up his tablet, fingers flying across the screen. Choi Daeshim has been trying to absorb the old Kim family territories for years. If he knew Saran had your daughter, he'd use her as leverage. Doyun finished. He took Ji-young to draw out Mirae. And me. The pieces fell into place with terrible clarity. The Choi family hadn't stumbled onto Mirae by accident. They'd been watching Ji-young since she arrived in Korea with a 6-year-old girl. Waiting for the right moment. Where's Ji-young now? Doyun asked. Miho pulled up a surveillance photo. Choi's compound in Incheon. Heavily guarded. Our sources say she's alive, but being used as bait. Doyun studied the compound layout. They're waiting for me to come for her. It's a trap. A good trap, Miho admitted. Choi has 40 men in that compound. We'd need an army to breach it. Then we'll bring an army. Doyun's mind was already calculating angles, odds, casualties. Call the Park family. Tell them I'm cashing in the favor they owe me. And contact Lee Tae-jun. The Choi family destroyed his brother's business last year. He'll want revenge. Miho nodded, already dialing. And Miho? Doyun's voice stopped him. After this is over, we're going to have a long conversation about loyalty and secrets. Yes, boss. Mirae woke to find Doyun sitting in the chair beside her bed, watching the sunrise through the window. You stayed, she said softly. I did. He turned to face her. Mirae, I need to tell you something important. She sat up, pulling her knees to her chest. That too-old expression settled over her face again. You're my father. Doyun blinked. How? Mama told me before she died. She made me promise not to say anything until Aunt Ji-young brought me to you. She said you'd figure it out when you were ready. Mirae tilted her head. Are you ready? Doyun had faced down rival gangs, survived assassination attempts, built an empire from nothing. But this 6-year-old girl's question unmade him completely. I don't know how to be a father, he admitted. Mama said you'd say that. Mirae smiled sadly. She said to tell you that love isn't about knowing how. It's about choosing to try. Saran's words, spoken through their daughter's voice. Doyun felt the last walls around his heart crumble. Your aunt is in danger because of me, Doyun said gently. Bad men took her to force me to give you up. I'm going to get her back. Mirae's face went very still. Will you come back? The question destroyed him. This child had already lost her mother. Now she faced losing the father she'd just found. I promise I'll come back. Doyun held her small hands in his. But I need you to be brave. Mrs. Han will stay with you. My best guards will be outside. You'll be safe here. I'm always brave, Mirae said quietly. Mama taught me how. She said being scared is okay, but you can't let fear make your choices. More of Saran's wisdom. Doyun wondered how much of his lost love lived on in this remarkable child. Your mother was the bravest person I ever knew, he said. You're just like her. Mirae hugged him suddenly, fiercely. Come back, Papa. The word Papa hit him like a bullet to the chest. He held her close, memorizing the feel of her in his arms. I promise. The assault on Choi's compound happened at midnight. Doyun led 40 men, his own soldiers plus the reinforcements from the Park and Lee families. They moved like shadows, using the storm as cover. Miho coordinated from the command vehicle, watching thermal imaging on multiple screens. 12 guards on the perimeter. 8 inside. Ji-young's in the basement level. Doyun gave hand signals. His team split into 3 groups, approaching from different angles. The first guard went down silently, then the second. They moved with practiced efficiency, years of training evident in every step. Gunfire erupted from the east entrance. The element of surprise was gone. Go loud, Doyun commanded. Overwhelming force. In and out in 10 minutes. The compound exploded into chaos. Flashbangs shattered windows. Smoke grenades filled hallways. Doyun's team pushed forward like a storm surge, unstoppable. But Choi had prepared well. Reinforcements poured from hidden rooms. The 10-minute extraction became a firefight. Doyun fought his way to the basement, Miho covering his 6. They found Ji-young chained to a chair, beaten but alive. She looked up through swollen eyes and actually laughed. Took you long enough, Kang Doyun. Saran said you'd come. Can you walk? Doyun asked, shooting through the chain. I'll crawl if I have to. Ji-young stood shakily. Mirae. Safe. At my home. Doyun supported her weight. Let's keep it that way. They moved toward the exit, but Choi Daeshim appeared at the top of the stairs. He wasn't alone, 10 armed men formed a wall behind him. Leaving so soon? Choi smiled, cold as winter. We haven't discussed terms. Terms? Doyun's gun never wavered. You kidnapped a child and her guardian. There are no terms. There's only consequences. Choi laughed. That child is leverage. The daughter of Kang Doyun. Do you know how many people would pay for access to her? How many enemies you've made? The truth hit Doyun like ice water. Keeping Mirae's secret was no longer possible. By rescuing Ji-young, by acknowledging his connection to her, he painted a target on his daughter's back. Let us walk out, Doyun said quietly. Or I release files I have on your entire operation. Names, dates, payment records. Every politician you've bought, every shipment you've smuggled. It all goes to the prosecutors and the press. Choi's smile faltered. You're bluffing. Am I? Doyun pulled out his phone with his free hand, finger hovering over the send button. My investigator has instructions to release everything if I don't check in within 1 hour. Your choice. The standoff lasted 30 seconds. Then Choi stepped aside. This isn't over, Kang. No, Doyun agreed. It's not. But when it is, you'll wish you'd stayed in whatever hole you crawled out of. They walked out into the rain. Behind them, sirens wailed, the police, finally arriving. Doyun had made one anonymous call before the assault, ensuring official attention on Choi's compound. Sometimes the law was useful. When it was pointed at your enemies. The drive back to Seoul was silent. Ji-young stared out the window, processing everything. She looks like Saran, she finally said. But she has your stubbornness. They reached the penthouse as dawn broke. Mirae was awake, waiting by the window. When she saw Ji-young, she ran into her aunt's arms, crying. You came back, Mirae sobbed. Both of you came back. Doyun watched them, feeling like an outsider. This was family, real family, something he'd never had. His own parents had died when he was 8. The gangs had raised him, taught him violence was strength and love was weakness. But watching his daughter hold the last piece of her mother's family, Doyun understood he'd been wrong about everything. Mrs. Han took Ji-young to the medical room for treatment. Mirae stayed with Doyun, her small hand in his large one. Aunt Ji-young told me Mama made her promise to bring me to you, Mirae said. She said Mama never stopped loving you, even when she had to leave. I never stopped loving her either, Doyun admitted. I just didn't know how to look for her without putting her in danger. You found me instead. Mirae smiled. Mama would say that's fate. Maybe it was. Or maybe it was just broken people finding their way back to each other through the only good thing they'd ever created together. Over the following days, routines emerged. Mirae started online school, sitting at Doyun's massive desk while he worked. Ji-young recovered in the guest room, planning their next steps. Mrs. Han cooked meals large enough for a family. It felt surreal. Domestic. Dangerous in how much Doyun wanted it to last. But reality intruded. Miho brought reports of Choi's movements. The man was planning retaliation, gathering allies, spreading rumors that Kang Doyun had gone soft over a child. Let them talk, Doyun said. Words don't concern me. Actions do. The Park family wants to meet Mirae, Miho said carefully. They're calling in their favor, they helped with the rescue, now they want assurance she's real. Politics. Always politics in this world. No. Doyun's voice was flat. Mirae stays hidden. They can doubt all they want. But he knew the truth. In his world, showing weakness meant death. And love was the greatest weakness of all. He'd have to find a way to protect his daughter that didn't expose her to his enemies. The question was how. The answer came from an unexpected source. Ji-young entered his study one evening with a proposal. I'm taking Mirae to America. Back to our old life. Doyun looked up sharply. No. Listen to me. Ji-young sat across from him, her bruises fading but still visible. Saran spent 12 years protecting Mirae by keeping her hidden. 1 month in your world, and she's already been kidnapped and used as leverage. How long before someone succeeds? The words cut deep because they were true. She's my daughter, Doyun said. I just found her. You're asking me to let her go. I'm asking you to love her enough to keep her safe. Ji-young's voice was gentle. Saran made the same choice 12 years ago. She left the man she loved to protect the child she hadn't even met yet. Doyun stood, pacing to the window. The city sprawled below, beautiful and deadly. His kingdom. His prison. There has to be another way. Is there? Ji-young challenged. Can you really walk away from this life? Abandon your organization, your obligations, your enemies. Because that's what it would take to keep her here safely. Doyun didn't answer. He couldn't. Because Ji-young was right, walking away wasn't an option. Too many people depended on him. Too many enemies would smell weakness and attack. His empire would collapse, and the resulting power vacuum would cause a war that would consume Seoul. He'd built this cage himself, brick by brick, choice by choice. How long? He asked quietly. Until it's safe. Until you've neutralized the threats. Ji-young stood beside him. Saran waited 12 years. She died waiting. Don't make the same mistake. Fight for a future where Mirae can come back. That night, Doyun sat with Mirae in her room. She was drawing pictures. One showed stick figures holding hands. A man, a woman, a small girl. Is that your mother? Doyun asked, pointing to the female figure. No. That's Aunt Ji-young. Mirae pointed to the man. That's you. And that's me. Our family. Doyun's throat tightened. Mirae, your aunt thinks you should go back to America for a while. Would you be okay with that? Mirae's hand stopped mid-stroke. She set down her crayon very carefully. You're sending me away. Not a question. A statement. Not sending away. Keeping safe. Doyun knelt beside her chair. Bad people know about you now. They'll try to hurt you to hurt me. In America, with your aunt, you can be a normal kid. Go to school. Have friends. Be safe. Mama said the same thing when she left you. Mirae's eyes filled with tears. She said she'd come back. She never did. The parallel destroyed him. History repeating, pain echoing across generations. I'm not your mother, Doyun said firmly. I'm making a different promise. I will come for you. When it's safe, when I've made it safe, I'll bring you home. And this time, nothing will separate us again. How long? I don't know. Months. Maybe a year. That's what Mama said too. Then it was 12 years. Then forever. Mirae's voice broke. Everyone I love leaves me. Doyun pulled her into his arms, this small fierce girl who'd already lost too much. I'm not leaving you. You're leaving me, and there's a difference. You're staying alive, staying safe, so that one day we can have the life your mother wanted for us. Mirae cried into his shoulder. Doyun held her, memorizing the weight of her in his arms, the sound of her voice, the way she smelled like Mrs. Han's jasmine soap. The airport was private, the plane chartered, the departure time known only to 5 people. Doyun carried Mirae's small suitcase while she clutched a stuffed bear he'd bought her, the first gift he'd ever given his daughter. At the gate, Ji-young tactfully moved ahead, giving them a moment. I'll call every week, Doyun promised. Video calls. You can tell me about school, about your friends, about everything. Will you tell me what you're doing? To make it safe? Mirae asked. Doyun hesitated. How did you tell a 6-year-old that you were systematically destroying everyone who threatened her? That you'd burn your world down to build one where she could exist? I'll tell you I'm working hard to bring you home, he said instead. Mirae hugged him fiercely. I love you, Papa. It was only the second time she'd called him that. Each time felt like a knife and a benediction. I love you too, Mirae. More than anything in this world. She walked toward the plane, small and brave. At the door, she turned and waved. Doyun waved back, watching until she disappeared inside. 6 months later, Doyun stood in the ruins of what had been the Choi family compound. Fire had claimed what bullets hadn't. The Choi organization was scattered, its leaders dead or imprisoned. The threat was neutralized. It had cost him. Alliance with families he didn't trust. Promises he'd have to keep. A reputation for ruthlessness that would follow him forever. But his daughter was safe. That was all that mattered. His phone rang. Video call from America. Mirae's face filled the screen, grinning. She'd lost a tooth, grown 2 inches, made 3 best friends. She told him about her teacher, her science project, her new favorite book. When can I come home, Papa? She asked, like she asked every week. This time, Doyun smiled. Soon, sweetheart. Very soon. Behind him, Miho approached with papers. Legal documents. Adoption papers, to make official what biology already confirmed. Business transfer papers, slowly moving his empire toward legitimate operations. It would take years, but he had time now. Mirae had given him a reason to build something better than the kingdom of violence he'd inherited. I'm proud of you, Papa, Mirae said, like she could see into his soul through the screen. I'm proud of you too, Doyun replied. The bravest girl I know. When the call ended, Doyun looked at the photo he now carried, him, Saran, and Mirae, digitally created from separate pictures. The family they should have been. The family they would be. Some stories don't end. They just find new beginnings in the next generation. And sometimes, the most dangerous man in Seoul learns that the greatest strength isn't violence. It's love worth fighting for. Sometimes the greatest pain in our lives becomes the strongest force. That pushes us to live with deeper meaning. If this story touched your heart, please tap the like button and share this video with the people you love. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next moving story. How did this story make you feel and what did it remind you of in your own life? Please leave a comment below. We truly want to hear what comes from the deepest part of your heart. Wishing everyone watching this video good health, a joyful life, and peace in every single day. Goodbye and see you again in the next